A Tea Party state legislator in Tennessee was talking to a group about immigration, and it got really ugly. I'm talking here about Scott Desjarlais. And what basically happened was a young girl stood up, and she had a question for him, and it rapidly got into really uncomfortable, really xenophobic and anti-Hispanic territory. Let's watch.
I have a dad, and he's undocumented, and what can I do so he can stay with me?
What's your name?
Joanna.
What
can you do?
Joanna, thank you for being here, and thank you for coming forward and speaking. This is a big, intimidating crowd, and I appreciate you coming forward and asking your question. But the answer still kind of remains the same, that we have laws, and we need to follow those laws, and that's where we're at.
Now, my big opposition to what you saw in that video, the fact that she says, I'm really worried about losing my father, and he says, well, rules are rules, it's not even really with what he said. Now, I think that what he said certainly could have contained a whole lot more compassion, and even beyond the actual statement, he could support policies that would do the humane thing and reunite families. That would be nice. But my problem isn't really with what he did, it's with what the crowd did. In the same way that the Republican debates during the previous Republican primary of just a couple of years ago was so ugly and so cringeworthy, this crowd caused the same reaction in me. The fact that they don't just want the law to be followed, they delight in the fact that this Hispanic family is going to be punished. The fact that this girl that's right there, this isn't anonymous over the internet sort of BS, they're sitting next to her, that they just love that she's going to lose her father, and fuck him for trying to be a part of this country. Screw him, go back to whatever country you came from, and hopefully we can send your girl packing in a couple of years too. Thankfully she has papers, so that's not going to happen. But it is just disgusting, the display that they put on, and that they regularly put on in these sorts of town halls. For some reason, when you call something a town hall, the crowd feels like it's okay to act like you're at a goddamn Klan rally. Like you can, any sort of anti-Hispanic, anti-homophobic behavior you want. I believe in San Antonio, a former veteran, a gay veteran, was speaking and was roundly booed by the crowd, a crowd of conservative assholes. I guess it's the crowd mentality. I guess I shouldn't be surprised at this point. But another point that I want to make is, I've been reading these articles recently about why the Tea Party succeeded, why it still exists after a few years, since it started in early 2009. And they always say the reason it succeeds is it's managed to avoid the crazy elements and it's focused on economic issues. It's not about the social values and stuff like that. What the fuck economic values are they discussing here? Why are they cheering based on economic grounds? They're not. They're driven by crazy xenophobia and hatred for minorities, particularly Hispanics. You can't talk about immigration in this country right now without generating a response like that from the right, because they genuinely hate these people. They don't see them to be humans in the same way that they see white Americans or white immigrants to be. Like if she'd been talking about her Canadian father being deported, do you really believe that the crowd would have booed her, would have cheered with the fact that he's going to be sent back to his country of origin? I don't think so. And what I love here is Scott Desjarlais, who I've given somewhat of a pass on that particular issue, says that we have laws and we need to follow those laws, and that's where we're at. This article that I'm reading has a little bit of details on his past intersections, I guess, with the legal system. Now, he's a former physician and anti-choice crusader. You might have heard of this guy, by the way. We've talked about him on the Young Turks a year or two ago. He engaged in multiple extramarital affairs with female patients. Now, that's not necessarily against the law, although the fact that it's his patients gets into some ethical grounds. The fact that he was having an affair, obviously ethical grounds. But as libs, we'd give him pretty much a pass because what people want to do in their marriages is between them and their spouse, I suppose. But also, he is staunchly pro-life. By the way, here's what he said. Here's what he did. When he got one of these women that he had an affair with pregnant, he pressured her to have an abortion. Because it's all well and good to say that, these other people that want to have abortions should do the ethical thing and bring the baby to term. But when it's actually him, and it might ruin his medical practice, might ruin his marriage that he's trying to maintain, then it's a big problem, and you just got to kill that baby. So I love the hypocrisy there. And finally, another patient charged him with prescribing narcotic painkillers to the woman and routinely smoking marijuana with him. So if there's one thing Scott Desjarlais likes, it's the rule of law. And so this story just has a mixture of everything. Hypocrisy about how pro-life he is, hypocrisy about drugs, and obviously a heavy dose of anti-Hispanic rhetoric.